Last game was weird, wasn't it? I mean, the Penguins and the Jets, you would think that they would not have a rivalry considering that they play in opposite conferences. But here we are, 2 days later, 3 fights later, over 200 penalty minutes later, and that was a great game with the Penguins taking it 4-3 in the shootout over the Winterpeg Jets to extend their game-winning streak to 6, and the Jets now have points in 7 straight. So yes, fight night in the Peg. The Pittsburgh Penguins roll into town to continue their 5-game road trip and go play the Winnipeg Jets of Winterpeg. No, but really, it's cold there, man. It's cold. And they come out with a 4-3 shootout victory. This game was all sorts of crazy. It had everything. There were 3 fights. There were 2 game misconducts. There was a disallowed goal. There was a shootout. There was an overtime. There's Gordie a hat trick. There's a Steve Downie hat trick. More on that later. It was just all sorts of crazy. The emotions were heightened. Maybe that was because both teams were coming off some hot streaks. They were 2 hottest teams in the league, and it was the 4th best penalty kill against the best power play. Defense versus offense. Clashes. And boom, everything exploded. So, anyways, where to start? Yes, well, overall, the Penguins, I thought, had a pretty solid game for the most part. They let their foot off the gas, and they did allow Winnipeg to get back in the lead, which, again, is something that's been a problem with these Penguins teams in the past couple years. They still won, but they did have their warts, and they were outplayed for most of the game. And if it was not for Fleury in the last power play in overtime in the 3rd period, they probably would have lost because he made 3 ridiculous saves. Like that one save where he lifted his skate up and flipped it up, that was ridiculous. 3 saves in a row. Outstanding from him. Pavlich was actually sort of solid, and he's been weirdly decent for the Jets this year. I will expect him to regress because he cannot maintain his level of play right now. Neither can Fleury, but it was a good goaltending battle. Coming into this game, I thought that the biggest difference maker for the Jets would be Evander Kane, who is a very polarizing figure in Winnipeg. Some fans hate him. Lots of fans love him. I'm a very big fan of him. I think he's a great power forward. He had a fantastic game. He was all over the place. He had a Gordie Howe hat trick. He allowed Winnipeg to get back in the game. He was the engine that kept them going. And he's like that breakaway on Fleury. He's so hard to stop. He's so fast for a big guy. He's such a great skater. He does everything. He's like a poor man's Jamie Benn. He can score, he can pass, he can fight. He got into a fight with Simone Despres 5 minutes into the game. Simone Despres is a madman. He is crazy. He leads the team with 4 fights. He thinks he's a tough guy or something. He thinks Colton Orr, some sort of enforcer. I guess he's filling the void left by Derek Englund on defense, but I did not see this coming from Simone Despres. I'd rather see him playing than in the penalty box. The penalties he's getting is a little bit frustrating. He's on pace for a record number of penalty minutes, and yeah, I'd much rather see him playing. Although he took on Evander Kane, so that's not about trade-off. Someone to pay for Evander Kane will take that anytime. And he also did score. Pretty nice goal. Overall, he had a pretty solid game, pretty decent game. Actually, I know I've been really hard on Rob Scuderi all year, and I think he's terrible, but I would like to give a shout-out to Rob Scuderi and Simone Despres because I thought that they were actually 2 of the strongest players in that game. I think Rob Scuderi got a couple of assists. He actually made some good defensive plays. Mike Johnson's doing a great job of giving them sheltered zone starts. So they're playing against weaker competition, leaving Letang and Martin or Ehrhoff to play against the tougher players. The big 3, as it were, which they really should be doing. But it also left them to play a lot more because it went in overtime, etc. Letang played 27 minutes that game. He leads the team in power play minutes. He's, I think, 6th in the league in power play minutes. I thought he had a pretty decent game, but I definitely thought that Rob Scuderi looked really good, and I was very pleasantly surprised. And I hope he can keep it up. I really want him to keep it up because you have to justify that contract somehow. I don't think he can, but if he keeps playing well, it sort of makes sense. It's sort of like David Clarkson in Toronto. He's playing better this season, so you can justify it a bit. So I hope that it's something like that because they're not moving him, so we're stuck with that. So they got to find a way to make him look better, and I thought that he looked better that game. Crosby and Malkin were weirdly bad. Malkin was okay, but Crosby was bad, really bad for himself. He had a couple glaring turnovers, a lot of missed assignments, missed passes. They were just keeping him in check. They were not allowing them to do anything. He did have a couple great passes to Letang and great looks on the power play, and Pavlich made some great saves. But the Winnipeg Jets penalty kill is fantastic. The Penguins penalty kill is now also 34 for 34, which is in their last 34 kills, which is amazing. They got credited for a power play goal against, but it was really 4-on-4. And their penalty kill has been outstanding. While the power play did not score, I'd much rather see them have a solid penalty kill, and I was really liking what I've seen so far. Again, they have to say a goalie has to be your best penalty killer, and I thought Fleury was great in this one. Like I said, he made some fantastic saves in the penalty kill, and he definitely kept his team in the game, and Pavlich did as well. Penguins had some good looks in the power play. I would expect them to score in the power play tonight because they're playing Buffalo. But yeah, good job at Winnipeg. Paul Maurice has done a nice job with that team. Yeah, so Crosby and Malkin did not do much. I think that Malkin will do a lot better when he gets Bo Bennett back next week. Como is not working on the line, and Dupuy's been invisible the past few games. I do really like Dupuis, but I still think he's a lot better fit with Crosby than with Malkin, or put him down with Sutter, although that third line with Sutter has been really good lately. But I would imagine that Como would go down to that line because he's not a second-line player, and Malkin's not producing at 5-on-5, and this is the problem. And the Penguins can get away with it right now, but later on into the season and in playoffs, they can't get away with it. So I think Bo Bennett will be a help. Hopefully they also get another player via trade because Bo Bennett's made out of glass, and who knows when he'll get hurt again. But now we go on to Letang. I predicted that Letang would have a big year. He's played very well so far, very well defensively. He did have a couple errors in this one. He was responsible directly for the last goal, the Kane goal. I did not think it was his best game. He wasn't horrible, but he wasn't bad. The one thing I will say is that he needs to produce more. He has 8 points. They're all in the power play. He's doing a great job on the power play, quarterbacking it, making smart plays. He's shooting more, which I like. But now that he's focused on his defensive part of the game, the offensive game usually comes so natural to him, and it's not. And I think 5-on-5, he does need to find offense and produce more. That's a bit of a problem. So I especially considering that he usually plays with Crosby and Malkin, you'd think he would score more. Maybe it's just a matter of he's slumping, but I don't know the full details of it, but I'm a little bit disappointed in his lack of offensive production. But he's playing well, so that's good. But I would like to see him get more goals points from the back end because the Penguins are going to need that production that he usually gets. He had over a point a game 2 seasons ago, and if he can get back to that, that's going to be pretty solid, pretty nasty. And in the shootout, Crosby and Malkin both scored 2 beautiful goals, and this is what I love about Sidney Crosby. He can do nothing all game. He can have a subpar game, piss poor game by his standards, still make some great plays and have great puck possession, but also make some bad mistakes, just have an off night, not play well, nothing goes right, and then he scores the winning goal in the shootout and he pulls the game out of his rear end and they win. And that is what makes him and Malkin so special, is that they can turn it on like that, and you always have to be vigilant and be aware. And that is why I love him, because when you're getting frustrated and you think he's done nothing, he makes it all better, and he scores, and they win, and it's a beautiful thing. And it was a nice goal. It was a great goal, great play by Malkin, and Penguins win. All's good. And they take on the Buffalo Sabres tonight in Buffalo. I would expect, I don't know what I expect, but I would play Greiss personally if it was me, because they're playing Buffalo, and I would still like to see more of Greiss and Fleury play them last game, and then Fleury can get the Rangers. Let me know what you think. Please comment using the comment box below. Please like if you like this video. Subscribe if you really like it. Tell all your friends. Share with everyone, and I will see you tonight after the game where we take on the AHL Buffalo Sabres. let's go Penguins.